dichotomy. Between,
100%.
Detach emotionally, but not unemotional.
Yes.
You have to care and they have to know that you care. Yeah.
So ridiculous. So ridiculously incredible that, I guess it's not that ridiculously incredible. It's like, oh, you put a guy in 2000 and whatever into a combat scenario where he's got to lead troops in a tough situation. If they're successful at it, they're going to come to the same conclusions that someone did in World War I, which is where this guy was coming to these conclusions.
This is 80, 90 years ago that this was written, right? And, well, here's the thing. People have been fundamentally the same for 5,000 years.
Yes.
These are fundamentally true about human nature.
Yes. But never ceasing to care for their needs. When I had Mook on, General Mukayama, he's the guy that used that word where I was like, yes. He was one of Hackworth's company commanders in Vietnam, and he was just, I was saying this and I was saying that. He's like, yeah, you got to care for your men. And I'm like, check. And that's what he was talking about Hackworth. Once again, Hackworth known as this, badass, hard-ass guy. And Hackworth cared about them more than anything.
Yeah.
Mutual trust is the surest basis of discipline in necessity and danger. This is what I've been trying to explain to people for a couple of years now, is that the word accountability, I only have to hold someone accountable if we don't have that mutual trust where they understand where I'm coming from and they just go, oh, you want the weapons clean? Cool. They'll be clean. Mm-hmm. I don't have to go and inspect the weapons.
Right.
There's a mutual trust there. And in that trust is discipline. In all situations, every leader must exert, without evasion of responsibility, his whole personality. Willing and joyful acceptance of responsibility is the distinguishing characteristic of leadership. Speaking of plagiarism.
Yeah.
I just plagiarized this whole thing, I guess.
Right. Yeah, well.
This does not mean that the subordinate should seek an arbitrary decision without proper consideration of the whole, or that he should not obey orders precisely, or that he should let his feeling of the greater knowledge take precedence over obedience. Independence of action should never be based upon contrariness. Independence of action properly used is often the basis of great success. So that's why you have to understand what the commander's intent is. It's because you got to be support. When you make these decisions that you're making as a subordinate, you got to make sure that they're in line, that they're not contrary to what's going on.
But he just touched on something real briefly about this contrarian mindset. There are people who just walk around with a contrarian mindset. And it doesn't matter what gets said, like they're always going to be like, well, and sometimes that outside thought is a good angle to think about. Mm-hmm. But he just said it. He goes real quick. He just goes, but you can't just be independent for the sake of being a contrarian, or however he just said that. That
contrarian mindset, which, as you know, I mean, I have an open mind and I definitely try and think about things from a different angle. But you're right. People that are just being contrarian because they just enjoy the friction of arguing with people. Yeah, I'm not a big supporter of that. And they end up having no influence because everybody just they're crying wolf basically, right? Everything, they just disagree with everything. Every time. So guess what? Yeah. In spite of technique, the worth of men is the decisive factor. Its significance is increased in group combat. So the way they translate it in the American one, I think they say the value. I think they might even call it the combat value, meaning basically, are the dudes hard? Like, are the dudes hard? That's what they're talking about here. The worth of men is the decisive factor. This is an interesting translation here. The emptiness of the battlefield demands independently thinking and acting fighters who, considering each situation, are dominated by conviction, boldly and decisively to act, and determined to arrive at success. So the emptiness of the battlefield, in the American translation, they talk about, because modern warfare demands that we be separate from each other. Like, as you and I know, if you and I are on patrol, we're not close to each other. We're dispersed, and we're going to spread out so that we're not going to get killed by one machine gun round or one mortar round.
Yep.
So because of that distance, that's what they're talking about when he talks about the emptiness. So because of that emptiness on the battlefield, you have to have independently thinking and acting fighters, right? Because I'm not going to be there to tell you what to do. You're not going to be there to tell your guys what to do. They're going to have to independently act. That's the way it's got to be. That's something that we call decentralized command. Being accustomed to physical accomplishments, lack of consideration of self, willpower, self-confidence, and courage qualify a man to master the most difficult situations. There you go. There you go. Let's work on that. Physical accomplishments. What does that mean? Do athletic things.
Right. You have to be in shape.
Lack of consideration of self. Boom. You're not important. Willpower. Yes.
Discipline.
Self-confidence and courage qualify a man to master the most difficult situations. The worth of leaders and men determined the battle worth of the troops, which is supplemented by the possession, care, and maintenance of arms and equipment. Superior battle worth can equalize numerical inferiority. So if you're just hardcore fighters, it doesn't matter how many people the enemy's got, because we're going to get some.
That's right.
The higher the battle worth, the more vigorous and versatile can war be executed. Superior leadership and superior troop battle readiness are reliable portents of victory. The leaders must live with their troops, participate in their dangers, their wants, their joys, their sorrows. Only in this way can they estimate the battle worth and the requirements of the troops. Don't be sitting around in the ivory tower.
It's interesting, though, because we do have a thing in this military about the separation to a certain degree, right? But this is saying, and so there's going to be a balance there, too, right? I mean, but you can't be in the ivory tower and totally disassociate. Nope. People are like, well, who's that guy?
No.
I just get orders from that guy.
Battlefield aloofness. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to actually get out of the Humvee and go see what's going on. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Man is not responsible for himself alone, but also for his comrades. He who can do more, who has greater capacity of accomplishment, must instruct the inexperienced and weaker. From such conduct, the feeling of real comradeship develops, which is just as important between the leaders and the men as between the men themselves. Troops only superficially and not through long training and experience, welded together, more easily fail under severe conditions and unexpected crisis. So if you're only superficially and you haven't gone through long training and you haven't been welded together, when the hard times come, you ain't going to make it. And that's really when people ask me about, how do you build a team and how do you develop the bonds in a team? You do hard stuff together.
That's right.
You do hard stuff. And when we work with companies now, companies that made it through the downturn of 2007, 2008, because a lot of companies didn't make it, but the companies that they always refer back to those experiences like, that's what bonded them together.
Right.
Same thing with the military. You go through boot camp. What is that? It's a hard experience. You bond with all these people. Mm-hmm. And when you meet someone else in the military, they went through, at a minimum, they went through boot camp or officer candidate school or whatever, some sort of hard kind of indoctrination. Then you go to airborne school. A little thing where you're all going to overcome your fears of jumping out of airplanes or whatever. Then you go to some kind of special operations school. Same thing. You're just putting people through harder and harder things to get them tighter and tighter and more bonded together so they can overcome these adversities when they come their way. Therefore, before the outbreak of war, the development and maintenance of steadiness and discipline in the troops, as well as their training, is of decisive importance. Every commander is enjoined immediately to intervene with all powers at his disposal against any relaxation of discipline, against excesses, plundering, panic, and other damaging influence. You got to get in the game if you see that stuff going on. Mm-hmm. Discipline is fundamental in an army. Its strict maintenance, a benefit to all. No big deal. Just discipline.
So it's interesting. It's touched on a few things here, which I think, we get that because it's military, makes total sense. And talk about it when you want, but there's, people I think struggle with how do you do that in business today? Oh, HR, and how do I get involved? You have to still find a way to do that appropriately because
HR doesn't have anything to do with having discipline, process, procedure, No.
I'm talking about getting in and knowing what's going on with your people and in their life and doing hard things together, because I think a lot of people are like, well, you got to show up on time, do this part of your job. It's like, well, how do you actually deepen those bonds in a company? Yeah. Well, you got to find ways to put people through difficult things together, through training, find events to do that builds that camaraderie, that gets them through a hard time, that strengthens the bonds of those relationships.
I see good leaders do it in companies where they just set really tough goals that are very hard but achievable, whether it's a production goal, whether it's a sales goal, whether it's a project goal, and people have to really turn and burn to get it done.
Yeah.
And when they get it done, they're forced to work hard together. They're forced to go to the extreme a little bit, to work extra hours, to figure things out, to strengthen their relationships. And when they get done, everyone, and it's stressful. And then they get done and everyone's kind of holding their head up a little bit higher.
That's right.
And they're a little bit tighter. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be that you have to allocate separate training to do this. You go, hey guys, here's this project. It's due in 30 days. We're going to deliver it in 24 days. I ran the numbers. I looked at the schedule. We can do it. Who's in? And everyone goes, yeah, we're in. Yep. And then everyone buckles down and they achieve something. That's what they do. So that's how you build that bond between people and strengthen teams, by doing hard stuff. Set goals on normal things. Because think about it, when I come in and go, hey guys, we got this project due. It's due in 30 days. Could take a little bit longer though. I don't know. Everyone who gets fired up to hear that, right? No one. No one. Who goes, oh cool, I'm going to take an extra half hour for lunch every day. Right. If that's no. People don't even want to do that. Like, people might think they want to do that. People might think they want to do that, but they don't want to do that.
No.
They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They want to get after it.
And that's our job as leaders, is to set that bar and to set it even a little bit higher and then inspire and encourage and bring everybody along to try and get to that next level further than what they thought. Wait. Oh, 24 days.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, boss. Well,
what am I going to What do I have to adjust here? Wait a second. You really think this is possible? Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're going to make the whole world, we're going to make everyone at this company look at us and say, dang, they did that in 24 days.
That's right.
And guess what some other team is going to do? They're going to know we're going to do it in 23.
That's what my team would be doing.
Yeah, I know. And then we get some good competition going. So that's awesome. That's what you have to do. That's how you build teams. Stress builds teams. Now, if you have a team that's slightly fractured, guess what that stress will do? Break it apart.
Yeah, it's got to find those weaknesses.
Yes.
That's right.
So there's a balance. Oh, there's also a balance between, hey, you can set goals. Hey, there's a project that's due in 30 days. We're going to do it in 15. It's unrealistic. Everyone just looks at it and goes, yeah, Jocko's an idiot. He doesn't understand. He's in the ivory tower, doesn't even know what it takes to get this done. So balance. Balance there 100%. Continuing on, back to the book. The strength of the troops must be able to meet the highest demands in decisive moments. He who unnecessarily fatigues the troops jeopardizes success.
Oh, wow. Boom. There we go.
The strength employed in battle must stand in proportion to the objective desired. Unreliable demands prejudice the trust in the leaders and shake the spirit of the troops. Again, this is a cry wolf situation. We got to get this done in 15 days. It's like, and that's the first time everyone goes, okay, and maybe we get it done in 15 days. And then people look up, well, what are we doing for the next 15 days? We're going to do more. We're going to, and you eventually just burn everyone out.
Right.
So there's a balance to that. Back to the book. From the youngest soldier on up, the employment of every spiritual and bodily power is demanded to the utmost. Only in such conduct is the full power of accomplishments of the troops achieved. So do men develop and maintain their courage and powers of decision in hours of stress and carry forward with them to greater deeds their weaker comrades. So you can actually pass on your strength to the people around you in moments of stress.
Absolutely.
If you're strong. Does that, like when people quit in buds, I got I like took their power.
It's so
you know
funny.